Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by Replenishing Care, the future of sports medicine. To find out more about Replenishing Care, go to our website at thegruelingtruth.net. Top banner, click it. It'll tell you all about it. It does some great things. And somebody that could probably really use it because he's old and broken down. Let me help him. Welcome to the show. Former 1981 Indiana Hoosier, national champion, Isaiah Thomas's caddy, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great, Mike. How you doing today?
I'm doing great because we got a Canadian with us again, and I know that a lot of people protested and said, if you bring him back, we're not going to listen, but we're risking it. I want to welcome him to the show, Lukas Weese. How you doing, Lukas?
Lucas.
I'm great. It's a beautiful day here in Canada. Happy Friday. It's World Cup Friday, quarterfinals. It's going to be great. Great to be on the show 2 days in a row.
Oh, wait, Mike, real quickly there, announcing is Isaiah's caddy. I do want to know that I am bold and broken down, and I did pick up the new M3 tailor-made driver that should be sponsoring our show because I'm hitting the ball 15 to 20 yards farther with that driver. I'm more like Tiger and Dustin than I am you now with this new TaylorMade M3 driver. So TaylorMade, if you're listening, we would put your banner right up on top, and I would put video up every day I play of me killing it with your TaylorMade M3 driver.
We'll find somebody.
Don't get the pros. They can hit anything long. They can get anything long. Guys like me can only hit certain clubs long. The longest club I could hit is the TaylorMade M3 driver. So TaylorMade, if you're listening, all right, let's go. We just gave more airtime to our real sponsor.
Yeah, well, get us a real sponsor. Get us TaylorMade T3 or whatever it is. Lukas, I noticed Steve's a big hater of the World Cup, always ripping on it, but still, I want you to start the show off and tell us exactly what's going on in the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
That's a lie. I'm into the World Cup.
Is your name Lukas?
I think it's Mike who's the one who's
yeah, thank you.
Suspect
right,
on the World Cup. But anyway, just clear your name there, Steve. So France just defeated Uruguay 2-0 in the quarterfinals. France, of course, one of the favorites to win the World Cup. They have a really deep team. Beat Uruguay today 2-0. This afternoon, we got a star-studded battle between Brazil and Belgium. Brazil, of course, have Neymar and Philippe Coutinho. Belgium has Lukaku, De Bruyne, and Hazard as their main scorers. Should be a really fantastic game. I like Brazil to advance in a close one. And then tomorrow we got Croatia versus Russia, followed by England versus Sweden. England, of course, winning in penalty kicks on their last game. Dramatic win. First time England has ever won in penalties in World Cup history. They're trying to advance to the semifinals. So it's exciting World Cup, and yeah, should be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Who are you picking tomorrow?
So I like Croatia to beat the Russians. Hopefully the referees aren't paid off by the Russians. And
hopefully Croatians aren't shot.
Yeah. And then
I'm more worried about the Croatians getting shot.
Yeah. And then I like England to advance. Harry Kane is the leading candidate for the Golden Boot, which means the most goals scored at a World Cup. He has 6 goals in 4 games, which is pretty impressive. I like England to advance to the semis.
Right. Steve, what do you think, since you're big into the World Cup?
Well, I'm going to make this real good. I tell you what, I had fun watching the shootout. I think the first 120 minutes of the hockey match or hockey match, soccer game was pretty, yeah.
About the dog sled race.
I'm just watching right now. Venus Williams just lost the 3-setter. She's out of the Wimbledon. She's gone. She's done. She was upset by the number 20 seed, Bertrand. And Venus just lost in a gutty, gritty match. It made me think of how gutty and gritty the shootout was. But I think the real thing for you, Mike, in terms of World Cup today, with Brazil playing, is you get once again to go on to Barstool Sports or Instagram and see Giselle running around in skin-tight little Brazil soccer shirts.
Why don't we have that on the
parading around and cheering on for a team? Well, why don't we?
You're in charge of videos with
pictures
Jeremiah.
of Giselle running around in her soccer shirt.
I think that we don't want to objectify
find us a cute picture of Giselle and get it posted on our site.
All right. I'm on it.
I think right now the soccer is more fun to watch than to ignore at this point in time. I understand the round-robin rounds, everybody's playing each other. It gets monotonous. But right now, when you get down to the final 8, final 4 teams, and I think you start seeing countries get really passionate, I think it's worth taking a shot at and watching. Don't sit there and plan to watch the whole match because it is disturbingly boring until the end. It's a close game.
All right.
It's kind of like watching a NASCAR race. It's like fast forward to the last 20 laps and catch it. You'll see the whole race.
Is
in
it
the last
NASCAR race?
Well, Saturday night will be fun to Daytona because those idiots run 200 miles an hour, 3 inches apart. They can wreck anytime one of them hiccups on the track. So that's a little different cat. But other than that, NASCAR's pretty boring to watch until the last 20 laps. And trust me, I watch all NASCAR races.
Steve will have a NASCAR show coming up shortly.
Yeah, I will. And that's the first thing I'm going to tell him. Fix the problem.
All right, guys. Next up. We had, Ali Frazier last night, Trae Young, Grayson Allen. What was your take on it, Steve?
Well, first off, to preface it, once again, about 4 plays before, Grayson Allen gets called a technical foul for tripping a player. Like we haven't heard that story before. So he got called for that, and then basically Trae was on top of the key, gave a shot fake to Grayson trying to guard him. Grayson went up straight up. Trae came down into him. Trae definitely lowered his shoulder into him. Grayson came down on top of him and kind of smothered him. And somehow Trae got a good tomahawk chop on Grayson, and they started scuffling. Nothing really. They were separated quickly. Grayson acted like he was the victim in the whole thing, which he does about every time that stuff happens.
So he'll fit in the NBA.
You read about it. Are going to amount to much more energy dispersed than what actually happened in the scuffle. But it will be everywhere because I've already woke up this morning to read all the sports pages, and it was on prominently displayed on every sports page about Trae Young and Grayson Allen getting into it.
And Lucas, I would think that this is such a big story just because of Grayson Allen's past.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as someone who's watched him at Duke many times, he's always his antics have often boiled over to the point where he's been benched. He was benched by Coach K a few times at Duke, so not surprising. I think it's but I agree with Steve. Much ado about nothing. They were shaking hands after the game.
Yeah,
it's just a little scuffle in summer league, But Grayson Allen. It'll be interesting to see what he does in the NBA.
What do you think? What I find, Steve? Do you think he's going to continue to have problems like this because his reputation precedes?
Yeah, I do. I don't think he's as talented of a ball player, and I still live by the theory. I'm not sure you're ever going to see another great white player in the NBA. I think you'll see good ones like a Gordon Hayward, but I don't think you'll ever see another great one. And I could be wrong on that, but I just it hasn't happened since Larry. And I don't see anybody now.
Dirk Nowitzki's name?
Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah. Then I'll use Dirk as the last one, really, truly. And really, Dirk is more, if you look at Dirk's accomplishments, his is more longevity than anything. I mean, he never dominated the game the way Larry did.
True.
He's been a great player for 20 years there, and he's a solid rock, played injured, played tough. But he's a good white player. I mean, he's not dominant. He's won 1 championship. He's a perennial all-star probably because he's a white player as much as his talent. But to say that Dirk Nowitzki will go down as a great player for anything other than the longevity of his career, most all the records he holds are longevity records. And he would not hold a candle to Larry Bird. And I know that's music to your ears, Mike, but it's the truth.
It's not music to my ears.
It's the flat-out truth.
I think he does. I think Dirk Nowitzki is one of the greatest players I've ever seen. He's the 6th leading scorer of all time. Ask LeBron, who ran into
over longevity. Anybody plays.
Dirk was the only great player on that Mavericks team, and he kicked LeBron's ass.
Right.
Yeah.
He did it one time. They did it one time.
They only played him
and then
once.
He never was able to. Okay. Well, they were able to win another championship. I'm not going to knock Dirk Nowitzki. I love the guy. He's one of my favorite players of all time in the NBA. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying he's not in Larry's stratosphere. And I don't know that there'll ever be another white player in Larry's stratosphere. So, and this is back to Grayson Allen. I think the guy, he's struggling shooting already. He's not quick foot. You've got to be quick to play and get your own shots in the NBA. It's not a league. That's why Alford could never do anything in the NBA. As great a college player as he was, he has to have people getting shots. And it's the same for Grayson. He's going to be, a marginally good player. Kind of like, who was the guy from Morrison, Adam Morrison? Remember him coming out of Gonzaga? He was heralded as the greatest college basketball player of the year, got all the awards along with J.J. Redick, I think.
J.J. Redick.
Share a bunch of them. Yeah, and then he just vanished, he's gone. He's selling stocks for Merrill Lynch somewhere, I bet.
Pretty good job, though. You gotta give him that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad job, but he's as far away in basketball as he can possibly get. So I think that you're going to see Grayson Allen probably end up a lot on the same lines. He's got some of the dirtiness of Larry, but Larry masked it so much better than Grayson has the ability to mask it. Larry was a master at masking his dirtiness. I'm sure Larry tripped and did as much as anybody in the NBA. I know I got spat on him one time. So, and playing summer ball practice.
No, you didn't. I think you're full of crap. You're just name dropping now.
Yeah.
Larry Bird didn't spit on you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure we have Larry Bird on this show one day, and you're going to repeat that story.
He's not going to remember.
Of course, because it didn't happen.
There you go. All right.
I bet he's going around telling all the grandkids, if he's got any, I spit on Steve Risley once. And they're like, no way. Steve Risley was one of the toughest son of a bitches that ever walked the face of the earth. There's no way you had the balls to do that.
All right. Player ever. This may be the biggest piece of interesting fact that came out last night, or I found it in the sports this morning. Luke Walton has not even met LeBron James yet. Luke Walton is the head coach of the Lakers and has had no contact or no face-to-face contact or communication with LeBron James at this point in time. What does that tell you about who's running the Lakers and where Luke Walton's place in the Lakers organization is kind of going toward?
Wait, I thought LeBron James was the head coach of the Lakers.
Yeah, me too. He was the head coach of the Cavaliers, and he took them to a bunch of finals in a row.
Great coach of all time.
He's up there. I mean, they've won a lot with him. Whoever he wants to be the coach is going to be the coach. Look at Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson got Westhead fired and got Riley hired after the 1981 series. And the thing that was crazy about that is the reason the Lakers didn't win in 81, they lost in the first round to a team with a losing record, the Rockets, when they used to play the short little mini-series, best out of 3. And in Game 3, Magic Johnson shoots an air ball that would have won the series. He misses, and then he turns around and gets the head coach fired because the head coach was obviously the reason that Magic missed that shot.
100%.
No doubt. So
just interesting the fact that Luke Walton has not had any communication or contact and was not involved in any of the process to bring LeBron to the Laker organization. So, but then the article did come out to say that Luke Walton was not a Magic Johnson hire, and Magic was no part of it, no part of Magic's master plan.
Oh, Luke's screwed.
So I think he's probably. The first time the Lakers don't come out or they get below 500 or something happens, I think you're going to see a sacrifice happen pretty quickly for Luke. But everybody said he's a good coach, basically, and he'll land on his feet. But it's just not likely going to see him be the coach of, but if the Lakers come out hot and win and start, blowing things away, he'll be fine. But that's not likely to happen in the West this year.
And more LeBron James news.
So that's all I had.
Tell us, what did the immortal LeVar Ball have to say about Lonzo and Rajon Rondo?
I just picked this up off the wire of watching a little ESPN clip that LeVar Ball now calls Rondo Lonzo's little backup. So I don't know who's going to go first, Luke Walton or Lonzo Ball, because I don't see LeBron taking LeVar Ball's crap either. I don't think that he wants that, in his, because as soon as LeBron starts playing, too many L's here. Lonzo, Jesus Christ. As soon as LeBron starts playing poorly in a stretch, something like that, that LeVar is going to be all over LeBron while Lonzo is nursing his torn meniscus that nobody knows about. Can you say my follow-up?
LeVar, Lonzo, LeBron. It's hard to keep that straight.
So many L's.
It is hard to keep that straight. I'm struggling. None of you were helping me.
Well, you just said it was hard to spit it out. Like you're a Kardashian now. All right. Next up.
Oh, that's...
What?
We're going to the gutter. We're going to the gutter today. It's Friday.
They're already there. And I'm usually there.
All
right. Next up, the last thing is Donald Trump. And I want to get a Canadian perspective because Donald Trump, of course, last year raised all kind of hell. The NFL owners changed their policy for the upcoming season. Players in the past have chosen to kneel during the anthem, are not allowed to remain or are now allowed to remain in the locker room. And Trump at a rally, a campaign-style rally, which we're 2 years away from the campaign. I don't know why we're having campaign-style rallies, but it's a different story. Isn't that worse than not standing, he said. He said, that doesn't play. I actually think in many ways it's worse. So what's your take on the national anthem fiasco and Donald Trump, Lucas?
Well, first of all, I disagree with the policy. I think, we live in, America's a country that has, the freedom of speech. And to me, Colin Kaepernick decided to raise awareness about the police brutality on unarmed African Americans by taking a knee during the national anthem. But unfortunately, people like President Trump have twisted this issue and made it into an issue about the flag, that, because you're kneeling, you're disrespecting the flag and all of the, the brave men and women who took the oath to defend the great country that is the United States. And to me, unfortunately, the owners now are doubling down on this reality because they want to protect their bottom line. They obviously think that because of the anthem protests, there's a decline in viewership. There's a decline in ticket sales, which I think is nonsense. I think there's other reasons why there is a decline in ticket sales and merchandise that goes beyond just the anthem protests. I think it's a lot to do with concussions in the NFL, people not liking the NFL as an organization, which we've alluded to on previous episodes of our show. But to me, it's just, President Trump, again, just bringing up, old news. It's happened, and he's playing to his base who agree that what Trump is saying, that Colin Kaepernick and anyone who kneels for the anthem is disrespecting the flag. It's not the truth. What they're trying to do is raise awareness about the rampant issue in America, which is police brutality on unarmed African Americans, which was the original purpose of the protest, not about disrespecting the flag. So unfortunately, the owners have doubled down. It's too bad, but at the, again, it's the classic case. The owners in the NFL are trying to protect their reputation. They're trying to protect their profits and their bottom line rather than really focusing on key issues, social issues that are occurring in this country.
Oh, it's happening in Canada too? You said this country like you're an American. All right, so we know that Lucas wants to be an American, Steve, because everybody does. What do you think about this? And what do you think about Lucas's perspective from living in another country?
I think it's probably how we look to the rest of the world. Silly. I think it's time to move on past this. I think the Constitution protects their right to do it. I personally don't agree with it. Not for any other reason. I don't like people that burn flags either, but it's their right to do it. And just because I don't like something doesn't mean that that should be the policy. They're within their protected rights to do it. It's their way to protest. I'm tired of it. Now it's just a distraction.
Well, you know what, Steve? While you say this, I just realized something. It's the same way I feel about the World Cup. I'm not into it, but if somebody else
I was thinking about making a joke about that, but I thought, let's get over that too. Let's get over the World Cup thing. I mean, it's going to be over in a week anyway. So, but this whole thing, we stretched this into a national phenomenon, and Trump's using it as a campaign ploy to get his grassroots campaign, keep them, the middle American people who are God, guts, guns, and glory. And he's using that battle, and he's using it wrongly. I don't think that Kaepernick should be kept out of the league, and I think he's being kept out of the league.
Well, he's been blackballed. Whiteball.
Yeah, he's been blackballed, essentially. Yeah.
Blackballed.
Whatever you want to call it, right? But I think we need to move past it. I think basically on the side, I think the owners are wrong for saying it's about the flag and about military. It's not. But I also think that Kaepernick's side has carried this about as far as they can carry it and got the mileage. It's about as much mileage we're going to get out of it. Obviously, they've been battling this thing for over a year, 2 years probably, and they've gotten no results, just more bickering. So it just needs to all stop. I mean, nothing's changed. It's not going to change. Yeah. I mean, the owners are dug in, and they keep using it as their vehicle to protest, and if they're not succeed, I mean, if you don't protest for a purpose, now there was a purpose, but that purpose is not going to be achieved through this methodology of protesting. I don't think so.
No.
So just
there's got to be more interaction with the communities that are being really affected by this issue now. I think it was a good spark to a conversation about
what
this.
It was.
But I think now it's Trump again is politicizing it, not surprising. And Kaepernick, he should be playing in the league. I mean, the last time he played, he had a 4-to-1 TD to INT ratio. He'd be a better quarterback than some of the starting quarterbacks there are in the league right now.
No doubt.
Yeah, because half of them suck in the league. So that's why everybody desperately picks guys in the first or second round when they shouldn't be. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break. We will be back, and we will talk about the top, or basically the greatest athletes of all time. I'm sure Lucas will have a take, and Steve, you better pick somebody from the Iditarod. We'll be back right after this.
Replenishing Technologies helps athletes of all levels train, recover, and perform at their absolute best. We do this by offering the PEMF 120, the world's leading pulsed electromagnetic field therapy device. Workouts, injury, and stress cause cells to lose their natural power. PEMF works like a battery charger, helping cells regain the power needed to dump toxins, take in oxygen and nutrients, and repair. 95% of athletes report less pain, increased range of motion, more energy, and they simply feel better after using PEMF 120. If you'd like to count yourself among that group, contact us at www.replenishingtechnologiesinc.com.
All right, guys, we're back on Survive Advance. I'm Mike Goodpaster with Steve Risley and Lukas Weese. All right, so last night on Facebook, Lucas, picked apart saw an article that I wrote on the top 20 greatest athletes of all time, asked if it was going to be the article, and then Steve Risley, who, if there was ever a man with no ego, it was Steve. And then Steve comes up and said that he would love to debate this with me because I was a typical fanboy, because we all know I don't have an NCAA championship ring. So, Steve, I'm sure you read the article. What were your issues with the article, since you called me a fanboy and hurt my feelings fairly badly?
The whole purpose. First off, let me tell you this about having an ego. I have an ego. You have an ego.
I said you.
Lucas probably doesn't have an ego. because he's got nothing to be. You're being sarcastic.
Oh,
Lukas
God.
probably doesn't have any. He goes, what the hell does he have to be egotistical about? You know. So, all right. So let's just get down to the core. But the bottom line is, rather than saying you have an ego, I live by the theory: if you can't laugh at yourself, you can't laugh at anybody. And I make jokes about myself all the time. And I think that, you know, I am one of those people that if you could buy me for what I'm worth and sell me for what I think I'm worth, you'd make a hell of a lot of money off me. All right? And that's fine. So, while it comes across as an ego, mostly is self-depreciating humor because of the fun I enjoy having, bantering with you guys and having fun with it.
Deprecating.
So let's get that off the table right now.
Deprecating.
Self-deprecating.
Deprecating.
He can't blame autocorrect like he does on Facebook now either when he says something.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm not a rocket surgeon either.
Scientist.
No, surgeon. So see, that's the other part. That's the joke. I'm a rocket surgeon. You're a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist.
I got
both.
the joke.
I'm a rocket surgeon.
Okay.
I'm a rocket surgeon. I'm a combination of a rocket scientist and a brain surgeon. Jesus. So you got to explain everything to Goodpaster.
Yeah.
Somebody explained to him soccer, and the guy will probably like the damn sport. He just doesn't get the sport. So rather than learn it, he bashes it.
Yeah.
My issue with the whole thing is the same thing we got into with the greatest player of all time, greatest NBA team of all time. There's no real way to really honestly depict or say or state. It's all an opinion. It's all basically an opinion. You know, when I got challenged with this, I went and started doing homework and research and saying, okay, what's everybody else think? Surprisingly, half the list lists Michael Jordan as the greatest athlete of all time. And they list Muhammad Ali as the second greatest athlete of all time. And believe it or not, we discussed this pre-show. In a lot of top 10 lists was Secretariat, the horse. So what it just says is when you start creating these lists, it's whatever your mindset is and what you're defining as a great athlete. I mean, is it somebody who has 11 championship rings and it's Bill Russell? I mean, is it somebody that's coached 4 Super Bowls and is the greatest athlete, Bill Belichick or Vince Lombardi? I mean, what is your criteria? But the problem is we all have different criteria on what we think is the greatest athlete of all time. Like I'll just open up. I did my homework. I think it's Jim Thorpe, followed closely by Jackie Robinson. I look at that because of the body of work and the level of variety of sports that they participated in. And it's a time frame. Again, I know, you know, the circumstances with both of them were playing under. The hardships both of them faced, one being a Native American, one being a first black athlete to play professional baseball in the major leagues, and what they were able to accomplish and how things happen. I mean, you're talking about a man like Jim Thorpe who won a national championship at a very small school, won 2 Olympic gold medals, winning 8 of the 15 events in the pentathlon and the decathlon the year he won it in 1912. Later had him stripped for a reason that he had taken money playing baseball as a semi-pro down the road. Actually, believe it or not, Jim Thorpe won a national ballroom dance contest at one point, too. I was just in there. I'm like, okay.
I've won 3 of those.
Okay. And Jackie Robinson, again, was a 4-sport letterman at UCLA, a 4-sport letterman in high school, one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And so what my criteria is, how far did they spread themselves and exceed at more than one sport?
Okay, so
it doesn't necessarily mean they were the greatest in any one sport.
Where is Jim Brown and Bo Jackson then? Because Jim Brown was my number one. Jim Brown's a guy that played.
Yeah,
okay. It's your turn to talk. I forgot. Go ahead.
Well, were you not asking me a question?
No, I was making a statement.
I thought you posed it as a question. Where is when you posed the question?
I was just going to give you the reason why I have Jim Brown number one.
Okay, well, I would be very hard not to pick. By far, I would believe Jim Brown to be the greatest football player of all time,
and the greatest lacrosse player.
And he was a great lacrosse player, exactly. And that's great, and that certainly puts him in the top 5. But your criteria is going to be a little different than my criteria. So go ahead and talk about your criteria,
my criteria
and why you think Jim Brown is.
The reason I go with Jim Brown is because there is a huge case to be made that he's the greatest ever to play 2 sports. There is no case for Jim Thorpe as being the greatest in any sport. There's no case for Jackie Robinson being the greatest in any sports. I mean, Jackie Robinson was a solid college football player, But Kenny Washington, who broke the color barrier in 1947 with the Rams in the NFL, or 1946, right around there, was the main guy there. When I look at this, another guy, and the reason I got him second is Bo Jackson, is because you look at Bo Jackson, in the same season, he hit a home run in the All-Star game and scored a touchdown in a Pro Bowl. His career was ended short.
Yeah.
But you're talking about he won a Heisman. He rushed for almost 5,000 yards, 6.6 yards per carry. As a baseball player, you look at 141 home runs, 415 RBIs, and most of those were done in 3 or 4 years. He had a slugging percentage that was almost 500. He had one of the greatest arms you'll ever see. And in professional football, before he got injured, he'd run for 3,000 yards, which was 5.4 yards a carry, which he is the only man with more yards per carry with that many carries outside of Jim Brown, who was 5.22. Jim Thorpe was my third, and I have Jackie Robinson at like 11 or 12. But I think with Robinson, I don't even think he was the greatest second baseman that ever played the game. I think he does belong there because he was also, a lot of people forget, Jackie Robinson was a great track and field athlete too. But when I look at it with Jim Brown, when you do any research on him, he led the nation in scoring as a running back in football. He led the nation in scoring in lacrosse. And most lists, when they list the greatest of either sport, he's at least in the top 5 in both lists. So my criteria is, for my top 2, they were legends in more than just one sport. And with Jim Thorpe, I have him there because he wasn't necessarily a legend in everything, but this is a dude that won the decathlon and pentathlon in the same Olympics. He played in the NFL. He played Major League Baseball. I don't think anybody is going to say that he was a great Major League Baseball player. I think his lifetime batting average was like 252.
252.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I think that puts him up there just below those two guys. And, Lucas, what's your take?
Yeah, I think the criteria of success in more than one sport is a good one. I got Bo Jackson at number 1, I think, for the reasons that you mentioned, Mike. I think, he recorded 598 hits, 141 homers. But just look at the speed of this man for such a, he was so physical. 6'1", 230 pounds. He recorded a 40-yard dash time of 4.12 in the combine leading up to the draft. Bo Jackson's often compared to Deion Sanders, who many consider to be one of the greatest corners of all time, who also had baseball success. But, I got Bo Jackson at number 1 just because I just think he, so successful in both of the sports. But at number 2, I'm going to go with Michael Phelps. I think Michael Phelps is a little bit of a different case just because now I know he only did swimming, but the Olympics are just different because it's once every 4 years, and you got it, the pressure on one man, in that moment is immense because it's not like in the NFL where, if you don't win the Super Bowl 1 year, well, there's always next year. With the Olympics, that's your time, and you got to wait 4 years. And Michael Phelps, he was in the Olympics from the 2006 Olympics all the way to 2016 Rio. He's the most decorated Olympian of all time with 28 medals, 23 of them are gold. In one Olympics alone, he won 8 gold medals. Most Olympians just dream of winning 1 gold. He won 8 in one Olympics. It's a bunch of world records. That to me, I get it's just one sport and it's an individual sport, but he dominated for a really long span of time and had just tremendous success in the hardware department. So for me, my criteria is kind of a mixture. I think it looks at, success in more than one sport, but then, also, longevity in a sport that, you don't see very often, once every 4 years.
And well, I had Phelps in my top 5 as well, and I didn't put him higher because I knew Goodpaster would lambaste me because he only played one sport.
I got him at number 12.
And so I thought, well, okay.
It's not like I got him real low.
Okay, all right, well, and again, you hear me talk when we talk about Nowitzki. I think what made Nowitzki great is longevity. Jim Thorpe, longevity. Jackie Robinson, longevity is a factor that I put into it when I look at who was the greatest athlete. You know, and Bo Jackson and Jim Brown, neither of them were what we would consider, by this standards, great long careers. I mean, Jackson, Brown played 9 years, I think.
Yeah.
And Bo, you know, pretty much after 4 or 5 years was done. And they were a great 4 or 5 years, there's no doubt. And I can't argue against them for that one period of time, that 1 year or 2 years, or for 9 years for Brown, being the greatest athlete of all time. When I stack that up against like a Michael Phelps, who did it for, 20 years, 4 or 5 different Olympics, I mean, that's incredible. And Nowitzki playing 20 years, you know, Jim Thorpe playing sports until he pretty well died. I think he finally retired from professional sports at 41. You know, and he was such a broken down man. And so it's like I said, it gets difficult to do this, and I don't want to argue about it because we haven't named the name yet that's not worthy of that recognition. Well, we haven't mentioned one person who I don't think you couldn't argue that they belong there. It's just what your criteria is. Each individual's criteria, you know, longevity is big in the mind. How long did you do it? And then I went and looked at how many sports were you able to achieve goodness or greatness at or play at professional level. You know, and that's what maybe hurt Phelps a little bit with me. But I had him. I wanted to consider Phelps. And I thought, God, this guy's got 28 gold medals. Nobody's ever going to touch that record. It's like Nolan Ryan's strikeout record in baseball. Nobody's ever going to touch that record. That's never going to get touched. That record will last until the universe comes to an end. Nobody will ever throw as many strikeouts as Nolan Ryan did.
Well, how about this?
We'll never play baseball that long.
Who is the greatest female athlete of all time?
Well, the argument's based on Erickson. That's the argument.
Well, for female athlete, I would say Serena Williams.
Oh, Jesus.
Which I'm shocked
really?
wasn't in your top 20, Mike. I'm really shocked.
There's no way she would ever be in my top 20. She's a tennis player. That's it.
Wouldn't be in my top 20 either.
Babe Diedrich.
She's a tennis player.
Babe Diedrich Zaharias.
Zaharias, right.
You're talking about a standout basketball player. Man, I mean, at the time, the greatest female basketball player. An Olympic gold medalist, track athlete, and one of the greatest women golfers. Hell, one of the greatest golfers of all time. Yeah. That kills anything Serena Williams has ever done.
Yeah, that's actually an easy pick. That's really not really debatable in my eyes. You know, for her, and I don't think anybody would accept me except for some Canadian, some guy's been hit in the head by too many hockey pucks.
Yeah.
That Serena Williams would be better than Hoser.
Yeah.
That would be a better, greatest. And Serena's the greatest tennis player of all time.
Look,
I would argue Serena may be the greatest tennis player, period, of all time, but not the greatest athlete of all time.
How can you call her the greatest tennis player of all time when right now the number 300 ranked male would crush her?
I know. Yeah, I agree. I was trying to be gentle on Lucas.
Okay.
I was trying to let him down.
I think, you know, you got to put her in the conversation. She has 23 major titles. No doubt, she's great. And to me, the fact, Mike, in your top 20 list that you put Martina Navratilova ahead of Serena, I just disagree. I mean, Martina, no doubt, great.
Martina Navratilova revolutionized the sport.
Has more tournament.
How many
she has more
did she win?
Major champion wins too, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Well, she won a bunch of doubles.
Serena, no. Serena's 23. Martina is 18.
Those are individuals.
Martina has more Wimbledons than Serena does. But Serena has 23 majors, the most of the Open era.
But those are individuals.
Was a dominant player. Martina was a dominant player who revolutionized the game. She was quite the advocate off the court as well. Social justice, human rights. I'll give her all that.
I don't care about social justice and human rights. This is what I care about. Navratilova still holds the record for being number one for 332 weeks in singles and a record 237 weeks in doubles. I will also say this. I think the competition in tennis, especially women's tennis, was tougher back then. I mean, she had to deal with Chris Everett, who won a crap load of stuff, too. You had a lot of people that were really good. she still holds the record for the most singles and doubles titles in the Open era. I mean,
Right.
we're just talking about
Right.
overall singles titles. She won 167. She won 177 doubles titles. Her record as a number one singles player from 82 to 86, where she won 428 matches and lost 14. In 5 years, she lost 14 matches. She had a winning percentage in those 5 years of 96.8%. She holds the best season win-loss record of the Open era. In 1983, Lucas, she was 86-1. And she still has the best record for 4 out of the top 6 Open era seasons in history. Now, you talk about longevity. She played a long time doubles, but singles-wise, she was pretty much done within 15, 16 years. She won with Pam Shriver, her partner, 109 consecutive doubles matches, including all 4 major titles, then a doubles Grand Slam in 1984. They set an all-time record of 79 titles together. I don't think anybody ever touches Martina Navratilova.
Yeah. No, one of the problems doing this is, especially with the younger generation, is, I know when I was researching Jim Thorpe and looking things up, it's like, they have virtually no film of him competing as an athlete whatsoever. And even in where Lucas would come up and say he thinks that Serena Williams is plastered on every event, everything she does is on some form of sports television, either the Tennis Channel, ESPN, the major networks, and even Martina, the television coverage wasn't as good then either. So the sad part is that when you choose to take somebody like a Bo Jackson or a Serena Williams over a Jim Thorpe or a Martina Navratilova, you're doing it based on what you've seen and what kind of coverage has been given to you, because that's what you know. And most people don't know much about Jim Thorpe other than he was an Indian from Carlisle who was a great football player. And there's no film. They said that the sad part about Jim Thorpe is there's virtually no film of this guy competing at his peak known in existence.
Yeah, there's
but I wondered if you
it's
sat
in like the 1920s.
It's grainy. Yeah, it's very bad
Yeah.
for film. They said it's very grainy. You can hardly make it out. And the uniforms back then were, a lot of them weren't even numbered. You didn't even know who he was until he was 20 yards past everybody. So, and there's not a lot of film of Jackie Robinson either. I mean, there was the television coverage of baseball. Every game didn't get covered back then.
I've got like 6 complete games he played in.
Yeah, well, he played in how many? 500, 600,000?
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's plenty there. And the
Yeah.
thing is this.
Yeah.
You have the same thing when people talk about boxers from the early 1900s, but you can go read newspaper
Right.
reports and get what they were. Jim
This
Thorpe,
country is
and
visual. This
this
country
is
is
the
very
thing.
visual.
I don't care, because this is the thing. There's not too many places I've seen. I haven't looked lately like you did, so maybe you could touch on this. But I haven't seen too many places that don't have Jim Thorpe ranked in the top 3.
No, and that made me feel good, because he was going to be my choice. He was going to be my choice all along. And then I went through all the lists and started seeing how everybody else ranked. The surprising thing was Michael Jordan, and half of them was ranked number 1. But Thorpe was always in the top 5. But I almost felt like it was a legendary, he won a lifetime achievement award to be in the top 5. That they really didn't recognize him as being a great athlete. They just said, he's Jim Thorpe, he's a legend. We got to keep him in the top 5.
He was named by everybody the greatest athlete of the first 50 years.
The first half
of the 20th
century.
century.
Yeah, first 50
and
years, right.
Also,
Right.
they did make a major motion picture about him that still is shown today, and it's called the World Jim Thorpe. What was it? All-American.
Burt Lancaster.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Burt Lancaster played him.
And my thing
Yes, it
with
was.
Jim Brown, the reason I put Jim Brown number 1 is this. You talked about the size of Bo Jackson and his speed. Jim Brown was bigger. I mean, Jim Brown's a dude that you could put him in 1900, you could put him in 2000, you could probably stick him in 3000. He's still kicking everybody's ass.
I would not be displeased if it ends up. If I had to, I could live with Jim Brown. I mean, the guy. If you look at him today, he looks like he could still play. You look at Jim Brown even today. He looks like he could still put on a uniform. I know he can't, but the way he's built still, and how physically fit he still looks.
I remember this.
And
before Sports Illustrated was stupid and ripping Bobby Knight all the time, I used to get him all the time. And like in the mid-1980s when he was like 49, he was actually on the front of Sports Illustrated. You might remember this, Steve, where they've got him in a Raiders uniform with a helmet under his arm, and he's telling everybody he's going to come back. And at the age of 48, he ran a 4.65 40.
Yeah.
Another athlete that people don't ever mention, and I didn't put him on my top 20, was Herschel Walker. Because I remember watching Herschel Walker 5 years ago when he was 56 beating somebody's ass in an MMA ring.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I think the USFL stripped him of a lot of his opportunity when he went with the USFL.
I think
that stripped him of a lot.
I think this. You talked about guys like Adam Morrison and stuff. I think Herschel Walker was the perfect example of a college running back who was he might be the greatest college running back of all time. If he's not number one, he's in the top 5. But his running style was not conducive to the NFL. He was a straight-ahead runner. If you watch him, most of his biggest highlights are him. He gets the ball, he gets through the hole, and he's running a straight line. There weren't a whole lot of moves with him. He was a straight-line runner. And when you're a straight-line runner, usually things don't work out to where you're an NFL legend. I mean, if you watch Jim Brown, he could run straight ahead, he could juke you, or he'll juke you and then come back and smack you in the skull anyways and keep going. So I think Herschel Walker was a great college player. He was just a good pro.
Yeah, I would agree. I liked Herschel Walker. I mean, I loved it when he came to the Cowboys and ran. And, he was a fun player to watch because when he got past that initial line, you ain't touching him. He was gone. And you're right. He was a north-south runner. He got by, and it's just like, hey, I ain't going to run around you. I'm going to run past you. I'm just running past you. You ain't going to touch me. You can't catch me.
Now, another one,
and as big as he was to do that.
Lucas, who's the greatest athlete in the history of Canada?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
For me, it's Wayne Gretzky. To me, Wayne Gretzky, I would say. I think, there are some great Canadian athletes. I mean, even, who've done a lot, especially in, track and field. But to me, Wayne Gretzky just revolutionized hockey in a way that no one has ever done since. To think that 1 year he had more assists than the highest hockey players had points. It's just hard to wrap your head around. He had 50 goals in less than 50 games. That's never been done before. Again, if we're looking at criteria of individual greatness in a sport as well as longevity in that sport, I mean, he played a long career. You got to go with Wayne Gretzky. I think it's hard to wrap my head around anyone else who could even, be at that level, I would say. I mean, there are great Canadian athletes.
By somebody's criteria, Gretzky could easily be recognized as the greatest athlete of all time by some people's criteria, because you talk about just like Secretariat dominated horse racing like no other horse had ever dominated the sport. So therefore, that's probably why Secretariat gets in a lot of these greatest athlete mentions. Is that the horse just dominated the sport so great, and Jim Brown did too. When Jim Brown was playing running back, he was the most dominant player in football, no doubt. And Gretzky, for the length of his entire career, was the most dominant hockey player. You talk to anybody who in hockey had to play, he's the last guy they wanted to face on any given night because he was going to find a way to beat you. And the longevity and the skill. I mean, he scored. He was the first player to score 200 points in a season.
Yes.
Yeah. Yesterday he had like 108 assists and like 92 goals or something like that. I think still the only player ever to break 200 points, isn't it? In one season.
No one else has.
So in terms of just most dominant player in one sport, that's your criteria. Gretzky's 1 or 2.
Well, I got Gretzky at number 10. I got Gretzky at 10. I got Ali at 4 or 5, just because they were so dominant, and they were special athletes. I mean, if you look at a guy like Ali,
they were.
He's 6'2", 215 pounds, moving like a guy that's a middleweight. And with Jordan, I mean, you can tell by looking at Jordan, he could probably, we know he can't play baseball, but he probably could have been a football player. He was a hell of an athlete. Gretzky, he's a hockey player. That's what they do in Canada. If you look at it, I mean, Canada, who else you got there? Maybe, Donovan Bailey? Would he even be considered?
Donovan Bailey.
Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
Hey, how about one for Steve? Wouldn't Jacques Villeneuve, wouldn't he be somewhere in there?
No, I don't
What a
think
great
Jacques Villeneuve. Well,
pronunciation.
Huh?
yeah, he definitely
Good
was. He
pronunciation.
was not ever a dominant. He won one world championship, I think, and a great driver, no doubt. But there's other race car drivers, A.J. Foyt, Michael Schumacher. He would be hard pressed to be in the top 5 or 10. And but in terms of Canadian drivers, he's by far the best Canadian driver ever to come out. I mean, and he's a great driver. Don't knock that. And he's had a son. He produced a son who went on to become an IndyCar champion, Indy 500 champion as well.
Yeah.
So,
then, of course, you've got the Gordie Howes, the Bobby Hulls, and if you really want to piss everybody in England off, y'all could just claim Lennox Lewis and put him at number 2, Lucas. He was born in Canada, no matter what.
Was he a Canadian? Was he born in Canada?
Oh, yeah. He won a gold medal for Canada in the Olympics, beats Riddick Bowe, and then he moves to England because, let's face it, there aren't even 100,000 people to show up to watch a fight in, Canada, but there are in England.
True.
Everybody's too spread out. I mean, you can't get 100,000 people to one spot. That, and if you do it in like October or November, you might lose half the people to go.
Wow.
So, Lucas, again, who was your choice? Who was your choice as the greatest athlete of all time?
Oh, look, I'm going to go Bo Jackson 1, Phelps 2.
Okay.
I think, for those two, I think if I'm going to use the criteria for success in more than one sport, football, baseball, 2 real popular sports in the U.S., Bo was that. And then for me, Phelps, I mean, to have that longevity.
So wait a second. So you're going to put Michael Phelps over a guy in Jim Thorpe who played almost every sport professionally, won a decathlon and pentathlon, back-to-back days in the Olympics. You're going to put him. I can't believe you're putting Bo Jackson over Jim Brown. Jim Brown did that for 9 years, plus was the greatest lacrosse player of all time. So
right.
I think you're nuts.
I can live with Brown or Thorpe. I could live with Brown or Thorpe, but I can't live with Jackson or Phelps as number 1. They're great. They'd be in most top 5s, but I can't live with either one of them as the greatest of all time. I could live with Brown, and I could live with Thorpe. Either one, I could go either way.
What I can't live with.
If Bo would have continued, Bo Jackson would have continued to do what he did for 5 to 7. We don't know if he would have, but if he could have, then
he would have been
without the hip injury. I think he's fine. But he had the injury.
What I can't live with though is Michael Jordan. A lot of number 1s. I think that I don't know, just
No
bitching about that here because nobody's got him number one.
No one's got him number one. I don't think. I wouldn't even put him as the number one.
How about this? We talk about the World Cup. Where does Pele rank?
I had Pele in my top five.
Top 10.
He's often people don't know about him. Again, he played in a time.
I think everybody knows about him. I even know about him.
Well, they know the name Pele, but do they really know Pele? How great he was? I mean, soccer wasn't big in the U.S. when he was playing. There was not youth soccer.
Wait a second.
Soccer craze in
he is what started the soccer craze in this country. He came to the New York Cosmos of a struggling North American soccer league in it was around 75 or 76, somewhere around there. And, I mean, there's a documentary out there you can get. It was on Netflix about the Cosmos.
Yeah.
And they were drawing 60, 70,000 people to, was that East Rutherford, the Meadowlands, to watch him play. And that is when you had the explosion of youth soccer. So he is one of the big reasons you got what you got today.
Mike, would it be fair to say that I would put Pele right next to Ali in the sense that I don't know that either one of them were the greatest in their sport, but they were the greatest personality combined with their talents.
They had
they had the greatest
probably.
The biggest impact, exactly. But were they the greatest at their sports? just Ollie was not. I don't think would be the greatest boxer.
I would
but
say
the total impact on their sports, they would both be number one. Ollie and Pele.
If you look at Pele, I think most people still thinks the greatest soccer player of all time. I may be nuts. I actually watched Pele in the late 70s. He used to have the games on ABC. With Ali, I don't think he's the greatest boxer of all time, but he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. And the thing to remember about that is that was the greatest title you could hold in sports up until probably the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew,
those two
you know what? In 1975, you go to Africa, they can't tell you that the Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl. But if you go to Africa, they can tell you who the heavyweight champion is. And the same thing with Pele. I mean, even people in this country, I mean, put it like this, nobody cared about the NASL. It was dying out. You bring Pele here, and all of a sudden 70,000 people are showing up. That tells you that even though soccer wasn't popular in this country, in the 1970s, even though people didn't like soccer, they sure knew who the hell Pele was.
Right. Yeah. I by far the two most impactful athletes of all time would be Pele and Ali. Anybody would creating that list, it would be a tie for those two at number one.
Well,
worldwide
I think
impact.
if you're going to do that list, I think Joe Louis belongs there too. Joe Louis was the first black man really that had white people cheering for him. I mean, he fought Max Schmeling, which I still think, maybe we'll have a topic, the greatest sporting event, the most important sporting event of all time was
that's a great
Joe
topic.
Louis against Max Schmeling. And you could never have another event like that. What you had a black American who was fighting what was considered a Nazi, even though he wasn't, a Max Schmeling. It was right before World War II, and you had black America and white America pretty much united, cheering against the evil Max Schmeling. You had a sold-out, New York Yankee Stadium, and I don't think you could ever get, just with the political construct of the times, something like that again.
That's a great topic, greatest sporting event of all time. That's a great topic. That's one we can do down the road.
Well, Mike,
we're waiting for football season to start.
Mike, if we're going to talk also about athletes who, really, made an impact, beyond, the sport that they're playing. I mean, in Canada, we have Terry Fox, who obviously, probably one of my, Canadian heroes.
I think he would be on your top 10 list for Canadian athletes.
Athletes for sure. I mean, top 3. I mean, I think he's, to think that he, had this vision of, a marathon of hope going from one end of Canada to the other. Unfortunately, it stopped short because of, his cancer spread. But he, his legacy now as, someone, raising awareness about, cancer research, it just goes far beyond just him as an athlete. So definitely he's one to mention too, if we're using the criteria of athletes who've made an impact beyond the sport.
Yeah, talking Canada, I mean, didn't he have, osteocarcinoma or something like that, and he had to get his leg amputated? I remember seeing I saw the movie. The movie was outstanding. That's how I first found out about him. But, and he was a great athlete up to that time. I think he was a basketball player also.
He was.
And he was running across Canada 3 weeks after the leg amputation. I mean, he was running prosthetic, which I think was that late 1970s, early 1980s. That prosthetic leg is nothing like it is now either.
Well, Mike, the cancer that he had is now curable now. So it goes to show you how far we've come in terms of advancements in cancer research, because if he had that today, he'd be alive still.
Yeah. Well, they probably found the cure in Canada, not in this country, but.
Yeah.
Another one we haven't talked about, and we're watching him evolve right now. I'm actually watching him on TV right now. Is at some point, Federer is going to come into the conversation.
I don't think
as is not the greatest of all time, but he will come in one of the greatest. And what he's doing at his age in tennis right now, I mean, he's mid-30s. He's up there. And in that sport, where quickness and agility and speed and stamina, he's still dominating the sport across the board. I know Nadal owns clay, but what Federer's doing and continuing to build his resume, at some point in time, he'll come into the conversation as at least the greatest tennis player of all time.
See, I think it's hard to come into the conversation until you've retired, because really you don't know how somebody's finishing up.
I said it.
But Mike,
if you have this discussion in 1984, 1985, or 1987, Bo Jackson's probably everybody's hands down number one, because you don't know how it's going to end. Go ahead.
Yeah, no doubt. Injured yet. Right. Yeah. No doubt.
But if I may interject, I mean, I think Federer right now, and I agree with you, Steve. I mean, the man has 20 major titles. He has almost 100 ATP, and like the guy's number one. He's still top 2 in the world, still winning, and probably has a good chance to win Wimbledon and add to those totals. I think another one we're missing. And I don't think he'll ever crack into that top 20, but at one time Tiger Woods was at a time when he dominated the sport of golf. And he was, from 2000 to about 2005, he was, he won the U.S. Open by 15 strokes. If it wasn't for his infidelity or injury, I mean, he still has 14 majors now, 4 behind Jack Nicklaus.
Wow.
I think he would have still been in, been in that conversation. It's because I think he was on that kind of route, similar to Bo Jackson, to really exceed and break Jack Nicklaus's record.
Yeah, and I know Steve likes golf, and I normally would say I don't think a golfer belongs there, but if he, in 2005, if we'd have done this list, he'd have been in my top 20, because he also had a huge, profound impact on the game of golf.
Sure.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Two things here. I want to drop one more name. In 2000, I was at the U.S. Open working for the Golf Channel at Pebble Beach and got to meet Tiger, and he was a difficult person to get to meet and to talk to. But I got to work as a runner for the Golf Channel, and that was a lot of fun because you were inside any rope. I had an all-access pass to go anywhere you wanted to go. That was really cool. And when he just dominated that tournament, I mean, it was – they all said that was a year after Peyton Stewart had passed away on the plane crash. And basically he came out, and they after the first day, they all said, you could hear the talk among the players on the range or in the locker room. They were all playing for second place. They weren't even the victory was gone. They were all just playing for second place.
15 stroke.
And the other point I want to make about Tiger Woods, I would put Tiger Woods more in the realm of Ali and Pele in terms of the greatest contribution he'll make is the impact he had on the game of golf. He probably changed the game of golf and brought more people into it more than any other. And while Nicklaus and Palmer obviously are the icons of the game, what Tiger did, he changed the entry into the game of golf and brought a group of people and a generation into the game that those guys couldn't get involved in the game of golf. And I would equate Tiger more in line, and not at the level of Pele and Ali, obviously, but more into that group of the most impactful athlete in their sport or in the world. And Tiger would be in my top 5 in that group, just as one of the most impactful athletes of all time.
And Steve,
he's there.
Golfers are making more money now because of Tiger Woods.
Oh, because of Tiger. Oh, well, it's ridiculous,
It's ridiculous how much golfers are making right now, and it's all because of Woods.
Well, I can tell you right now, in his career earnings for golf, Arnold Palmer's career PGA Tour winnings were about $1.9 million. To win the Masters, you get $2.5 million for winning the Masters. So basically now, because of guys like Tiger, they're getting paid to win more in one tournament than Arnold Palmer made in his entire career. Now, Palmer made most of his money off the course, obviously, again, that's the impact on the sport, though. I think that's where Tiger deserves a much higher ranking than saying he's one of the greatest athletes, pure athletes.
So I got a question
of all time. Although,
this is serious, I always wondered this: how does the caddy get paid? Does the guy that won, like Tiger's caddy, gets paid by Tiger? How much does he make?
Okay, I can answer this. Most caddies get paid a weekly fee, and then they get paid a percentage of money won. Usually it's like 5% and then 10% if the player wins the tournament. Now,
Correct.
in a case like Tiger Woods, what Tiger does is he just pays LaCava a flat fee because Tiger makes too much money. Tiger's not going to make, he's going to make $15 million in a year playing around the world. He's not going to give his caddy $1.5 million. So what he'll do is he'll tell LaCava, and Tiger won't play in enough tournaments because Tiger plays maybe 15 to 20 tournaments a year. So he'll tell LaCava, I'm paying you a salary of, say, $750,000 or $500,000 or whatever it is, but he gets a flat salary just for being his caddy. So there's stability there, knowing that LaCava's going to get paid no matter what. And then usually a guy like Tiger or one of these guys who had that kind of deal going. And most now, this is from Brian Ammons of the Golf Channel. He explained this to me one time that these top tier guys, McIlroy, they're raking in the big jack right now. They'll give them a performance bonus at the end of the year, something like that. Or I know one year Tiger won the Doral. It was the Ford sponsored the Doral Open in Miami, and the winner got the prize money and he got a new Ford F40 GT, which is a $500,000 car. Because Stevie was a big car buff in Australia, he gave Stevie the car. So you take the car as a bonus for me winning. I don't want to drive it for a Ford F1, a Ford F40 or whatever it was, the Ford GT 440. So you take the car. So they'll do things like that. But the top tier golfers caddies now get a fee. But your younger guys will get paid a percentage of winning. So that's how it was described to me. It could have evolved differently than that.
Am I too old to become a caddy?
No. Fluff,
not at all.
Fluff is still caddy. Fluff, who was Tiger's original caddy,
Fluff, Joe.
who he should be dead, but he's out there. They showed a picture of him at the last tournament of him embracing Tiger because his first major he won was with Fluff. And, Fluff has got to be pushing 70 easily.
Hey, let me ask you
He's
this.
still out there caddying.
Did Fluff used to work in the porn industry? Is that how he got his nickname?
Yeah, you always got to degradate back to something stupid.
What?
You start the conversation out now. This is serious. He starts the conversation out now. This is a serious question, and we get back into does Fluff work in the porn industry? Goodpaster, I tell you what,
we're in
You're
the
the one
work
that said
on you.
his name was Fluff. All right, that's just where my mind goes.
That's what he's known as, Fluff Cowan.
Why is he
It
known
is.
for
That's
that?
his name.
It's his mustache. It's his mustache.
Mustache.
Lucas is from Canada. Lucas, what were you thinking when he said the dude's name was Fluff?
I know Fluff because I follow golf. So I
Right.
No Fluff.
See?
All right.
So I know.
Yeah, you just said you know about it. I mean, so
I know Fluff because I followed the game of
Okay.
golf for 3 years.
Okay. Let's wrap it up with this. Let's do this. We picked Bo Jackson, Jim Thorpe, and Jim Brown as our 3 choices.
Yes.
yeah,
Now,
we'd go
let's
with
have a vote. Let's have a vote on those 3, and let's see if we can break a tie here and go with it. I'll start with me. Based on the arguments possessed and go, I think Jim Thorpe is great, but I'll go with Jim Brown.
Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, 3 great athletes.
Right.
I'm gonna stick with Bo Jackson. I'm gonna stick with successful both football, baseball.
Okay, why does lacrosse not count? I thought lacrosse was a big thing in Canada.
It's not.
Yeah,
Not that big. Well, you know what? It's actually it's bigger than you think. But
I thought it was
for
pretty
me,
big.
I'm not. I don't follow it that much. So
Okay, the debate is over. It's a vote.
Yeah, the
He's
debate's
staying
over.
with Bo.
So,
the vote.
This is the thing. Last night, I want to bring this up. I was told that this is going to be like argued with a fanboy. I would be wrong. I put number 1, Jim Brown. Steve Risley just agreed that Jim Brown was number 1. I'm going to agree with myself that Jim Brown is number 1. Lucas, thanks for playing, but you've lost. Steve will give you a parting gift. Steve, what do you have for him?
We're going to give him I will send you an autographed picture of me shooting a free throw in my away Indiana uniform. And I will personalize it for you.
Thanks, buddy.
That you can proudly hang on your wall.
Hey, just hope autocorrect doesn't get him and he calls you Gus.
Oh, boy.
All right, guys. Boy. Now, I hate to break this to everybody, but you won't be able to hear me and Steve this weekend because Steve plays golf on the weekends. We will be back Monday at noon. Sure
I'm not playing golf this weekend. It's going to be 112 degrees out here every day. I'm going to stay inside. You want to do show Saturday and Sunday? Let's do a show Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to be here all day.
All right.
I am not golfing this weekend at 112-degree temperature because I live in California. I don't have to.
We'll see. All right.
I can golf year-round.
I want to remind everybody you can follow us on Twitter at
Don't put that on me, Goodpaster.
Or at Survive. I hate when people call me by my last name because I think that's very disrespectful. I'm sure Coach Knight would be disappointed in you.
Then I'm being successful.
Sir Mike.
Successful, finally. All right.
If I'm just being disrespectful, I'm being successful right now.
You can also find us on the Grueling Truth, at Grueling Truth.
He didn't get that, did he?
Yeah, I did. That's why I laughed. Lucas didn't get it because he's really quiet. The Canadians are slower to get stuff because he's still thawing out.
No, I got it.
Hockey.
If you are connected with the Iditarod, we would love to interview you here on the show with Lucas, who is
seriously.
He's the biggest Iditarod groupie in the world. His room is decorated with posters of dogs.
Go, boy.
But make sure you check us out every Monday through Friday at noon on thegruelingtruth.net. You can also hear us on Spreaker. You can hear us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Lukas Weese, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.